Hi everyone, welcome back to the Container Garden series. We are partnering up with Smart Pots for this series. We're growing a vegetable garden here on the 7x11 space in Smart Pots containers. One of the questions I get asked the most is also the thing that trips up most gardeners, and that is how to water containers. If you don't water enough, your plants are going to die, but if you overwater, your plants are going to rot. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how to water in containers. Let's jump in. One of the areas where new gardeners get tripped up the most is how often to water my containers. And I really wish there was a magic answer for that, but there are a couple of different factors that affect how often you water. The first thing being the soil. Now, if you're growing with a soil that retains water very well, like I am here with the good dirt soil, you won't need to water near as often because your soil will hold on to the water for longer. But if you're growing with a soil where the water just drains right through, you're definitely going to need to water a lot more often. Second factor that affects how often you water is the outdoor temperature. Now, when the temperatures are really hot, say above 90 degrees or even into 100 degrees, your containers are going to need watering a lot more often. And in cooler temperatures, you won't need to water as much. For example, this week we had a couple of really hot days. It was in the 90s, and I had to come out here and check my containers every single day, and then I watered about every other day. So definitely more often in the hot weather. Now that brings us to the question, how do you know when your containers need water? Well, it's really pretty easy. You want to use your finger as a little moisture meter and just check your containers by sticking your finger into the container. And if the soil feels dry, you definitely need to water, but if it feels moist, then you're okay and you can skip watering for that day. The most important thing you can do is check your containers daily to see if they need water. A lot of gardeners also ask, what's the best method to use for watering your garden? Well, you got a couple different options. You can use a hose and a nozzle. You can use a watering can. I love to use drip irrigation because it keeps the water really consistent, takes the guesswork out of it, and then you can put it on a timer and just set it and forget it. So you can see I have drip irrigation with built-in emitters winding around my garden here. And I have a whole separate video on how to set up drip irrigation in containers, so I'll link up to that. The most important thing to remember with drip irrigation in containers is to put it on a whole different timer system than your in-ground garden because containers dry out faster and they need watering more often. A lot of people have asked how I connect drip irrigation from container to container. So come on over here and I'll show you. The tubing with drip emitters is in each separate container. And then what I did here was I connected a supply line with no drip irrigation with a little barbed connector here and ran that from container, putting a little hole here in the Smart Pots, all the way over to the next container, and then hooking it up with another little barbed T here into the next container. And the 1/4 inch supply line hooks up to the 1/2 inch supply line, which runs to my hose bib. Now, a lot of people wonder, how much should I water my containers? Well, you want to water your containers till water runs out the bottom because you need to water them deeply to develop a really good root system. You don't want to put just a little dribble of water on the top because then your root system will be shallow and you just won't be able to grow a lot of vegetables that way. And one thing that's great about Smart Pots is it has great drainage, so the water runs out and so your plants don't get waterlogged. If you're concerned about your wooden deck getting water damage, then you might want to use saucers under your pots, and we really haven't had too much of a problem with that. So you can use these little drip trays. These smaller drip trays work really well under the 5-gallon Smart Pots, but you do want to make sure that after you're done watering, you don't let your plants sit in water so they don't get root rot. You dump out the water from the saucer. A good option for the larger size, like the 15-gallon Smart Pots, is to use these wreath containers that you might have from your Christmas wreaths, and they work really well just to put the larger Smart Pots to use for a plant saucer and then just scooch it right back into place. Or you can just use a simple plastic tarp under your container. So just use the option that works best for you. Now, if you live in an upstairs apartment and you're concerned about water dripping down onto a neighbor's apartment, I would definitely go ahead and use the plant saucers. Then after a little bit of trial and error, you will learn how to water at just the right amount so you're not flooding out your containers, overflowing your saucers, and then dripping down below. A lot of gardeners also ask, what's the best time of day to water? Now, I usually run my drip irrigation very early in the morning. If you're watering with a watering can or with a nozzle, early morning is also a good time because then the plants have what they need to make it through the day. I don't like to water at night because a lot of times the leaves will get wet, they won't dry off very quickly, which can lead to all kinds of diseases and other issues. The most important thing is just to water at the time of day when you can be consistent, because consistent watering is the key to a productive garden. So whether it be morning, noontime, or evening, pick the same time every day and then just stick to it. Well, I'm really enjoying how our container garden is coming together. I want to thank Smart Pots for partnering with us on this series. We've seen a lot of great growth this week from these fabric containers, and I cannot wait to harvest. If you haven't yet started your container garden, go back and watch the container garden series from the very beginning so you know exactly what to do. Grab one of my container garden seed collections and my book, Organic Gardening for Everyone. I actually have a whole chapter on watering. That's how important it is to be consistent with your watering to grow a productive garden. Well, comment below, let me know if you're growing in containers and what you're growing. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.